Okay, I think we're starting. So officially, good evening, everyone. I hope everybody had a good Christmas and New Year's. And this is going to be the first class that we're going to have in roofing this year. And on Tuesday, this Tuesday, we're starting we're going to do from the least amount of questions in the test to the books that have the most amount of questions in the test. So we're going to start with the walkers. This is what we're going to be looking at today. Your walkers book typically is typically the least amount of questions you're going to find on the test comes from the walkers. And if we go through the whole book, then we're going to go to OSHA will be the next one. So that's what we're going to be, what I have planned for today. And usually, those of you who just started with me, what I'm going to go through the book is based on questions that have been on previous tests that I found out that came out on the test. So it's not going to go through we're not going through the book by itself because a bunch of stuff, even in the Walker's book, that has nothing to do, is irrelevant for roofing. But we're going to go through test questions, basically. There are two, some of you have this 32nd edition, which is a blue looking cover. And some of you might have, most likely, the 33rd edition, which is like a greenish looking cover. So I'm going to try to, the information is basically the same. It's just the way how it is on the book. The new edition has barcodes and QR codes and all kinds of different things, updated estimating numbers. Due to the fact that Walker's, the Walker's book, the Walker's estimating book, is one of the oldest estimating things that have been in the construction industry, together with means estimating way back when Walker's and means were the estimating, how to put together books, how to estimate. So we're going to be looking again at the Walker's books. I'm going to go through both books just in case. That way, make sure that whatever books you do have, we'll go through the page. The first thing I'd like for you guys to see is the table of contents. The table of contents in Walker's is based on what is called the CSI division. And for some of you who haven't heard of the CSI division, it's a Construction Specifications Institute division. That is the division, this is the type of where you have specifications on a project. Let's say that you have a set of plans and there's specifications. The specifications are going to be divided exactly the same way you see on this table of contents. You'll see that they don't call it chapter, they call it division. So we're going to be looking at some divisions that pertain to roofing. And because, like I said, in the roofing test, not the entire book, you're not going to be responsible for the entire book. But we're going to be looking at, like I said, the table of contents, and then we want to go to what is called Division 0 and look at drawing types. Look at page 27 on the old book and looking at page 12 on the new book. Depends on your book. The green is the new, the blue is the old. You got, talks about working drawings. And in working drawings, take a look what it says, types of drawing. In the old book, you see it in bold. In the new book, it's going to be the second paragraph, which talks about working drawings. It says that most working drawings for building construction are based on orthographic projection. That's what they were called. That's what the test question was about. The type of drawing, what is called orthographic projection, which is a drawing that is a parallel projection to a plane by lines perpendicular to the plane. So pretty much that's a test question on one of the roofing tests. Besides that, on the old book has CSI divisions again on page 33. The new book does not. So we're gonna go now to division, you know what is called division 0, but you're gonna be looking at scheduling. Actually, division 1. On division 1, I'm gonna look at critical path. Look at page 65 in the old book, on page 63 on the new book. And here we talk about scheduling. There are different things, you know, there are certain things that did come out. If you look at on page 65, look at that two-liner between the two diagrams that you see there. In a presence diagram, activities and their duration are shown on the note. Sequence between tasks is shown with arrows between related activity. That was a test question. What are called the arrows between the related activities? Sequence. Then look at on the bottom of page 65, you have early start and early finish. You'll see on page 64 on the new book, the same thing, early start and early finish.
Hey, it's Craig. I just got here. I'm sorry. What book are you in?
How you doing, Craig? We're doing the Walker's book. You know, all depends on
Tallahassee.
Come back?
It's snowing in Tallahassee.
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
It's snowing in Tallahassee right now.
It's snowing in Tallahassee. It's snowing in Panama City.
Jeez.
It is. It is. Yeah. Well, it's not the first time now.
Huh. You said page 65? I'm sorry.
It's nice.
Page 65?
Okay, we're on, it depends on your book. If we got the 32nd edition, it'll be 65. And if you have the 33rd edition, it'll be page 64.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. So then you're gonna see that on page 65, you have that, you know, the precedence between the that two-liner, and then early start and early finish in the bottom. On the new book, it'll be on page 64. See early start and late and early finish. Look at on page 66. The different definitions there. The last one, total float. Total float on page 64. Total float. What is the definition of total float? Which is the amount of time an activity can be delayed without delaying the end of the project, the end date of the project. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I was the Walker's book. Okay. Yeah, the Walker's book. It's not much. Again, this book is, like I said, the least amount of questions are usually the command in the roofing test is a Walker's book. Now we're gonna go all the way. By the way, the division that deals, you know, like I say, if you have, like, if you're gonna be bidding a project and you're gonna be the roofing contractor, and the project has a set of plans and a book of specs, the division 7 is gonna be the division that you're gonna be looking at as a roofing contractor, because deals with roofing, deals with the envelope, with the, you know, the and anything else that has to do with the thermal moisture protection, thermal protection, anything that has to do with the envelope of the building, and that's gonna be in roofing. So we're gonna be looking at Division 7 first, which is most of the test questions will come from. Then we're gonna be looking also at Division 6, because there's a bunch of tables over there that we're gonna be looking at. Division 6 deals with carpentry, with wood, sorry. So look at page 449 on the old book. And on the new book, wait a minute, I haven't gotten to the, on page 475 on the new book.
Which one's
475.
33 or 35? What's the new one?
Okay, on the 32nd is the old one, the 33 is the new one. So on the 33rd edition, will be on page 475. And besides, this book also has a good index, that helps out. At the end of the book, there's an index that will help you go through whatever you need to go through according to the question. But typically, you're going to see that at the beginning of the chat or each division, you're going to see what the division is about. You're going to have like a table of contents of that particular division. So you're going to see this, and like I said, the 449 for the 32nd edition and 475 for the 33rd edition. And in there, we're going to be looking at the first thing that I have highlighted because of being test question is on page 457 on the old books on the 32nd, and page 484 on the new book. And this talks about built-up bituminous waterproofing. Built-up bituminous waterproofing. And in there, you're going to see that says estimating quantity of felt or fabric required for membrane waterproofing. Basically, the paragraph starts, when estimating the quantity of felt fabric required for waterproofing masonry, concrete walls, so and so, it's necessary to add percentage for lap and waste. And here's where the question came. If the felt is applied to walls, allow about 6 inches to lap over the footings at the bottom, with a small allowance at the top for the walls above grade. This will average 7.5% to 10% of the total area to be waterproofed. On the old book, page 458, stay on the same page on the new book. Weight of tar and asphalt felt membrane waterproofing. Tar asphalt felt for waterproofing is currently furnished in 4 square rolls of 432 square feet, weighing 60 pounds per roll. So you see they're both the same. There's the same information on both.
Is there a key word in the question that's going to make us want to grab this particular book?
Typically, because, like, for example, the weight of the waterproofing roll, the weights are going to be given in the roofing, construction, and estimating that we will be talking about. Here we talk about waterproofing, and it'll be done in Walkers. Most of the times, you'll see according to Walkers. Okay. Not necessarily, but in roofing, construction, and estimating, you're going to have a lot of information that is pretty much the same thing as Walkers.
Okay.
But like, for example, the weight of tar and the membrane waterproofing, you talk about 4 rolls of 432 square feet. And each roll of not only waterproofing, your roofing paper, your 30 pound, is 108 square feet per roll. So 4 rolls would be 432. So it's pretty much the same. The only thing is just the way the way that they're fabricated, it's slight different. One is for waterproofing, the other is for roofing.
Okay.
That's what that is. And again, these are being the test questions on walkers. And it says, a lot of it says according to walkers. Now we're going to look at thermal protection. And thermal protection start from page 461 and be 462 with the questions on the old book. And it will be on 488 on the new book. Starts on 487. But the questions will come. You're going to see a table. Actually, if you want to, actually on the new book starts at the bottom of 487 will be the statement. It says materials are rated for the thermal resistance or the R value, which is the temperature difference between two exposed phases required to cause 1 BTU to flow through 1 square foot of material per hour. And then you see a table that has different types of materials, not necessarily roofing material, but it'll be the R value of it. That I have highlighted here that I have seen in tests been 4-inch common brick, 4-inch concrete slab. Those two I have highlighted because they came out. Then underneath that table, the second paragraph, heat transfer through a building enclosure by 3 means: convection, conduction, and radiation. And then right underneath you're gonna have the conduction, the convection, the conduction, and the radiation. They explain it. Now take a look at conduction. Okay, is the transmission of heat through a material. The rate of conductance of a material or combination of materials is known as the U factor. The BTU per hour per inch of thickness per square foot per degree of temperature difference. So the R rating discussed previously is the reciprocal of the conductance, or it's 1 divided by U. In other words, R equals 1 over U, or U equals 1 over R. That's what we're looking in here. But anything that has to do with conductance, conduction, transmittance, you're going to see when we get to, we talk about insulation, any one of those letters, and you're going to see U, you're going to see C, you're going to see K, C, and U. Everybody's equals 1 over R, or R equals 1 over those 2 letters. So they're going to give you one number, and usually one little formula, one of the problems, 1 over whatever it is. If it's the R value that they give you, it's 1 over whatever they're looking for. If they give you the K value, the U value, the C value, 1 over R. And that'll be, that's the key there.
Which page was that again on the new book? Excuse me.
Come back.
Which page was
Okay, that is on page 462 on the old book, and it's on page 488 on the new one.
Thank you.
That's what it is. And we're going to be looking again. This is what Walker talks about insulation. Basically, the table is what helps you. You come from Walker's on the table. A lot of this other information you're going to be looking at it in the roofing, construction, and estimating, and you're going to be looking at it in detail when we get to the NRCA books. You're going to be one of the books has one full chapter on insulation, different types of insulation. Here it talks a little about insulation also. So take a look now at board insulation. Talks about rigid insulation. Oh, you do that, take a look at the second paragraph there, the 4th line, if you want to call it. Urethane boards have a highest R value per inch of thickness, which is 7.14. But they're flammable and must be covered over or treated.
Good evening. What book are we working on today?
We are in the Walker's book.
Okay, and what other book would be working in as well? besides Walker's.
besides Walker's, the Walker's estimating book, and then once we're done with that, the OSHA book. Those will be
Okay.
the books we have for today.
All right, and what page are we on?
Okay, we are, which book do you have, 32nd or 33rd?
33rd.
33rd? We
Yes,
on
sir.
page 489.
Thank you.
And then we're gonna go now to 492 on the new book. And which is blanket insulation, and 466 on the old book, or 32nd. Talks about blanket insulation. And blanket insulation, in that paragraph, it'll be probably like this, you know, is be the second paragraph on 466, but you know, the on 492, it'll be about the seventh line into that paragraph. Talks about most bat and blanket materials have R values around 3.5 to 3.7 per inch of thickness. Then the 3-inch units will provide an R of 11, 3.5 of 13, and 6-inch of 19. These are blanket insulation. Then you have loose fill insulation. And in loose fill insulation, in the old book, you got two tables. The new book, you only have one table. Look at the top table on the old book. Talks about square feet of surface covered by one bag of loose insulating wool weighing 40 pounds, containing 4 cubic feet, not including the area covered by studs and joists. And there come out the 7 pounds per cubic foot, which will be 5.72 actual cubic feet. That's what came out. Then you have reflective insulation, which will be the next one, which will be 468 or 494. And in reflective insulation, in the second paragraph on the old book, 1, 2, 3, the fourth line talks about where the heat flows down from a hot roof to a ceiling below, 93% of the heat transfer is by radiation and only 7% by conduction. So if you look at 495, take a look at the 93 and the 7% is about the 6th line into that big paragraph on the top. And then we get to a table, page 500 and page 471 on the old book, on the 32nd edition. This table gives you the pitch of the roof in fractions, then gives you the rise and run, and the multiplier, the flat area by. So this will be the same table that you will be looking at in roofing, construction, and estimating. Another table, you'll see it in the NRCA books, in the green book. And basically, I would just highlight that table. That table is the very important to know. And then we're going to start about different types of roofing materials. And the first one is asphalt shingles. Asphalt shingles on page 472, the old book, the 32nd edition, and page 502 on the 33rd edition. And then estimating quantities of asphalt shingles. And estimating quantity talks about they're sold by the square containing sufficient shingles to cover 100 square feet of roof. Now, this is where the question came. When measuring roofs of any shape, always allow one extra course of shingles for the starters at the eave. The first and starting course of shingles must always be doubled. Then look what it says in bold, nails required for asphalt shingles. The second, basically the second statement. When laying square butt strip shingles, use 11 gauge aluminum nails, 1 inch long with 7/16 head. For laying over all roofs, use nails 1 3/4 inches long. It will require 1 pound of nails per square of shingles laid. And if you look at the table, sizes and estimating that on asphalt shingles, Kano shingle 3-in-1 strip, 1 pound of nails per square. Then I'm looking at it, the new one. Okay. Now, if you look at the statement on page 502, the statement that says most asphalt shingles carry, on the right, a class C, something like that. But look at the next statement. A roofer will lay 1 square of asphalt shingles in 1 hour on double pitch roofs with no hips, valleys, or dormer. Then you're going to see porcelain enamel shingles. Like this particular question, for example, the porcelain enamel shingles, they're not mentioned in the other books. The only book that mentions porcelain enamel shingles is this book. And basically there you're going to see porcelain enamel shingles are manufactured to have an exposed surface 10 by 10 inches with 144 shingles per square. Weight, 225 pounds per 100 square feet. Finish is fused on at 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. Then the next one is slate roofing, which is the following page of the old book, 474. It'll be on the same page 503 on the new book. And it talks about slate. And then here are the classifications in walkers, which is at the end of that first paragraph there. The 4 principal classifications are standard, textural, graduated, and flat, slat, slate. Then on page 505, new book, there's a table that is divided in two because it, talks about the slate roofing. It talks about the size of the slate in inches, the number, the slates per square, and the pounds of nail required per square. Highlight the tables because the stuff has come up from those tables. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Just before the tables, on the previous page, right at the end, at the last statement on the previous page, size of slate. The following table is the difference, okay? A different size with the number requires per, basically when laid with a 3-inch head lap and 2 nails per slate. So the table is based on 3-inch head lap. So wanted to make sure that, Underneath that, weight of slate roofing. And you'll see that it says it varies between 650 and 8,000 pounds. slate roofing. Like I said, it's not many questions that come from here, but you have some. Now we're gonna go to page 483 on the old book, aluminum siding. Aluminum siding on page 513 on the new book, talks about aluminum siding. On the new book, on the 7th line of the new book, the old book will be the third paragraph. To provide adequate drainage in aluminum siding, the roof surface should have a slope less than 2.5 inches per foot, preferably not less than 3 inches per foot. Then for roofing, yeah, it's the same thing. For roofing, sheets should have a side lap of 1.5 corrugations. For siding, sheets should be lapped 1 corrugation. A 6-inch overlap at the ends is recommended for roofing and 4-inch for siding. This is on aluminum siding. We use for roofing too. When used, okay, on page 486, old book, 516, new book. On the old book is right on the, right. When used for siding, right on the very top on the old book. On the new book, it'll be the last statement of the first paragraph on steel siding. When used for siding, 1 corrugation lap is usually sufficient, but in roofing, 2 corrugations should be used. And if the roof has only a slight pitch, the lap should be 3 corrugations. Then the next, the next paragraph below that one, or below the table from the old book. When used for siding, an 1-inch to 2-inch end lap is sufficient. But when laid on roofs, it should have an end lap of 3 to 6 inches, depending on the pitch of the roof. Then for 1/3 pitch, 3-inch lap is sufficient. 1/4 pitch, 4-inch lap is used, and for an 1/8 pitch, 5-inch end lap is recommended. So you can see the information is pretty much the same. It is the same on both books. It's just where do you have them. Now we're gonna go to built-up membrane roofing. That's gonna be on page 520 or 489. 489, the old one, 520, the new one. Membrane roofing. On the second statement on that paragraph. On flat roofs with slopes of less than 1/4 inches per foot, on which water may collect and stand, coal tar pitch and felt of a low melting point asphalt bitumen and asphalt felt are generally used. Coal tar pitch is not recommended for roofs having an incline in excess of 1 inch per foot. A lot of this we're gonna see the repetition. The only type of material in built-up roof that you can use on a slope that is less than 1/4 per foot is coal tar, which, by the way, is being phased out of the industry little by little. Then on page 491 or 522, that'll be the quantity, the table there, quantity of roofing felt required to cover 100 square feet of surface in various thicknesses. Sorry, according to the plies. Then right underneath the table, you have quantity of roofing gravel required for built-up roofs. Roofing gravel should be uniformly embedded into a heavy top of pouring asphalt or pitch, so approximately 400 pounds of gravel, 300 pounds of slag is used per 100 square feet of roof area. And by the way, those two numbers, those amounts Standard in the industry, you're gonna see the same information on the Florida Building Code, roofing construction estimating, and the NRCA books when you get to them. Then on page 492, look at the second table, and on page 523, the second table, material cost of 1 square 3-ply tar and gravel built-up roof applied over wood roof. Highlight the table because it was a test question based on that particular table.
The
Then we're
middle
gonna go-
table, right? The middle table?
That will
There are
be,
three.
or there are actually 1, 2, 3, there are 4 tables on the old book, the second table, and on the new book will be the middle table, yes.
Yeah,
The
the middle
middle
one,
table on
okay.
the new book, right,
Thank you, sir.
okay. And then we're gonna see on page 524 or page 493, EPDM roof systems now, single ply, elastomeric roofs. And then basically talks about EPDM roof systems. Look at the third line into that first paragraph there. EPDM membranes can be produced as in various colors, including black, reinforced or non-reinforced, and in thicknesses
What page is this?
ranging. Okay, on the new book is 524,
Thank you,
524,
sir.
right on the top, third line.
So the answer here will be 30 to 90 mils, right?
30 to 90 mils, right.
Hmm.
And then types of EPDM installment. You have mechanically fastened EPDM, you have fully adhered EPDM, and ballasted EPDM. When you go to the ballasted EPDM, okay, look at that paragraph that says the EPDM membrane is loose laid over insulation and secured with a minimum of 10 pounds of ballast per square foot.
What's
Ever seen
the
it?
what's the square footage again you said? Oh, the 10 pounds square
10
footage,
pounds
right?
of ballast, in other words, basically 100 pounds per square. You know, I've never seen a loosely laid roof, but I guess they're used somewhere. Then on the following page, the next page, take a look at typical EPDM roof installation. And there, on the old book, will be the third paragraph. On the new book, will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The ninth line. The ninth line. All lap joints should be a minimum of 4 inch wide, single toward the drain of roof scuppers. Apply splicing adhesive to both bonding surfaces with a 4-inch paintbrush at a rate of 120 linear feet or 4-foot lap per gallon, allowing the adhesive to dry until tacky. And then on page 495 on the bottom, you have a copper roofing table, which you'll have it on 528 on the new book, copper roofing. In copper roofing, just highlight the table, the sizes and weights of copper sheets commonly used in building work. Size of the sheet, and you know, according to the thickness of the copper, the weight of the copper, you know, in pounds. That table. Then we're gonna go to the following page to V crimped roofing. Look for V crimped roofing. The second statement on V crimped roofing. When estimating quantities of e-crimped roofing, allow for the end lap, but there's no waste in the width as only the actual covering capacity is changed by the manufacturer. For instance, a 26-inch sheet, 26-inch wide before crimping is 24-inch wide after crimping, and the sheet is sold as a 24-inch. Just want to make sure that I don't leave anything out here. Okay, look at on page 505 old book, 539 new book. Roof hatches. Actually, above the roof hatches, right above that, you have ridge vents. Actually, I'm sorry there, my mistake. Take a look at the page 504 on the old book. The last statement between the two tables. And it will be the same statement on page 539, the first one up there, the second statement of the first paragraph there. Downspouts can be installed by one sheet metal worker at a rate of 175 linear feet for small ones, 150 linear feet for medium, and 125 linear feet for the larger size per day. Then we go to roof hatches. Standard size 2'6" by 3'0" steel roof hatch when it's insulated curb and cover and hardware will cost about $450. That one there, a mechanic and carpenter should set these in 2 hours each.
In the new book says 4 hours each.
Okay, but if you look at the first
2 hours each, the first one, yes, I
the
found it.
first one, then setting large 2'6" by 8'0".
Perfect, yes, that's
Then
correct,
it's
I'm
4 hours.
sorry,
Both
I
of them.
jumped.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
You gotta help yourself there.
Am I
Very- very
missing
true.
some language here? Because under roof hatch, the paragraph starts, a mechanic, a carpenter should set these in 2 hours. There's
Right.
nothing above it. There's no other literature.
I know, and that is a typo
Got it.
on the new book, because remember, the new book came out after COVID, just being exactly, there's no, the quality control in everything went down after COVID, unfortunately. But that is a typo, and I'm just actually making a note because it's true. And but it's true. Yeah, you'll see it on the old book. You have all the information. The new book, they left something out. And that, by the way, that is division 7. Again, the main amount of questions. But now we're going to be looking at division 6, which is which is wood. And we want to look at division 6 because division 6 it starts on page 385 on the new book. And it starts on, on page 367 on the old book, on the 32nd edition, 367. And again, you see the table of contents and all that. But what we want to be looking for are tables.
Which
And we're
book?
gonna be looking at,
Same book?
on the same book, yeah. The only thing is, we already finished Division 7, which is a main amount of questions. But you have questions that have come up. These are now nail tables that deal with roofing.
Okay.
And they are in the wood, it's a division of wood. This is where you have the nails because it's a wood division. So you got tables in there. The first table
Which page on the new book again?
on the new book is going to be, well, it starts on on 387, but you're going to see it on 388.
Okay, thank you.
388 new book, 368 old book.
I'm sorry, I just came in. What book are we working through?
We're working through the Walker's and estimating book, which has the least amount of questions that come up in a test. But there's still some questions.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question before we start. So the thermal and moisture protection chapter, that whole chapter is the one that has the most questions, right?
That is because that is your roofing chapter.
Okay,
Again, like I said, if you were going to bid a job, nice size job where you have a set of plans and a book of specifications, the specs for roofing, you're going to find them in Division 7 because that's the way the specification book is divided. It's by divisions, and these are the book is based on what is called the Construction Specifications Institute division, the CSI division. You see the table of contents, and that's what they are. This is standard in the industry. They don't change.
yeah, most questions on the quizzes are coming from this one. That's why I asked you. So this
Right,
is the
yeah.
one that
Most of
comes
them, yeah. And
most.
then what you're going to see in Division 6, Division 1 talks about the drawing, the orthographic projection. A couple of questions on scheduling, the names of CPM, what is flow, total flow, simple stuff like that. But then Division 7 is the one that is mostly the questions come out. Division 6 is only which we're going to be looking at questions that have come up for different tables that deal with roofing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. The first table is in page 368 old, 388 the new, bright common nail specifications. You see the size, the gauge, the length, and nails per pound. Typically, that's something it'll be what the question is about. Then the next table is bright box nails. And the bright box nails, most of the time, the one that I've seen over and over again is a 7D. Usually you're going to see when you go the size, they're usually even numbers, but the bright box have 7D. Then the next one table is cedar shake siding face nail specification. Then on page 389, asphalt and fiberglass roofing nail specifications. That will be on the top of page 70. 370 on the old one. Then the other tables that are there: insulation, roof deck nail specification, gutter and trim spike nail specifications, square cap roofing nail specifications, spiral nails with countersunk heads, and underlayment. One table after the other, nail specification. And a couple of more pages, another page 372 and 393, metal roofing nail specifications. And then look at page 397 or 376. That is estimating lumber quantities. And sometimes the question, I've seen it, that basically it calls for board feet. And it tells you how to do it. Basically is the 2x4, the thickness times the width times the length divided by 12. And you come up with board feet. Like, for example, the one question could be estimate the amount of 1x10 fascia in this particular roof that is so much by so much, yada, yada, yada. They give you the information. So basically, you need to find out how long, how much, what is the length of all your 1x10s? 1x10 by whatever the length is, divided by 12 gives you the board feet.
Do you have to convert the inches to decimal?
No,
Okay.
no, this one is just like if they give you, I think 2x4x6 over here, something like that. The example. The example 2x4x6 feet. You get 2x4, so it was 2 inches by 4 inches by 6 foot long, and you divide that by 12. So if you get, like I said, 1x10 fascia, and you have a question like that, once you have the whole length of the fascia, you're gonna get 1x10 by 200 feet, 250 feet, whatever it is, divided by 12. And that'll give you the board feet. On wood, this is pretty much what I have. Because everything else has to do with GC. I don't remember anything else I have for roofing. I can't remember anything else that would be on roofing. Everything else is, like I said. So this was Walker. I told you it'll be quick because it's not much on these books.
Yeah, just the main ones are 7 and 6. So that's the ones that we gotta kind of focus.
Yeah, those are the main ones. Like I said, the Division 7 is the main division. Again, you're gonna have in an 85 question test, you'll have maybe 3 to 5 questions, depending, of walkers, no more than that. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go over OSHA. The OSHA requirements. Or OSHA books. I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes to get your OSHA book if you want.
I have a question for you that's not related to this off the book. One of the pre-exams that you gave me, it stated about the percentage of injuries when it comes to hot mop. And I know we went over it 100 times. I just could not find it. Where do I find that answer?
You're gonna find that in the roofing, construction, and estimating. And I tell you why they talk about that. It talks about, I think it's 23% or something like that.
23%, correct.
Yeah. Okay, but that you're gonna find it in the roofing, construction, and estimating when you start the chapter on single ply roofs, or the elastomeric roofing. When you start the chapter, they talk about, the book talks about what happens. It's better to use because
I found a page.
it's because of I can't remember the page.
I do.
But it'll be at the beginning of that chapter. Give me a minute, I'll give you the page.
I'll give you the page. I have it here.
You got it?
334.
334.
Yes, page 334.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
because usually what happens, everybody confuses it with OSHA, right?
Yeah, because it's an injury question.
Because it's an injury question, you think right away, injury OSHA. But this particular one, and they know it, and they play with that, and I've seen it come up in tests many, many times. because that's what, you know, that's what they try to do.
Did you write down the page number, sir?
I got it. I
334,
found it.
Okay.
334.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's,
Yeah, we're here to assist, so.
yeah. But that happens. You know, it's hard to find because it's where the heck is that thing? Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at OSHA, and again, you might have, you know, everybody has different books because there's a lot of different editions that came out, but the contents are pretty much the same. You know, unless you have a book that is 10 years old or something like that. But, you know, typically you're gonna see for OSHA has, or you know what, it's most of these books have 4 different parts in it. It talks, you know, which is, you know, part 29 of the Code of Federal Regulations, and talks about 1926 OSHA. Typically says that big, you know, which is 1926 is actually construction regulations in the construction industry on the site. That's what that is. Well, we have part 1903 that deals with inspections, it deals with citations and penalties and things of that nature, proposed penalties. That's 1903. Then you have part 1904 that deals with how to record and report injuries. And then 1910 deals with industry standards. I usually haven't seen much, if any, questions in 1910. I can't recall any questions in 1910. But then you have the part.
Can I
19
share? Can I share one
Yeah.
answer that I
Sure.
got from a friend?
Yeah.
1904.39.
Uh-huh.
Since everybody has the book, 1904.39 talks about death of any employee. The question is on how many hours you should report. So it's 8 hours. I just want to
Exactly.
share one of the
Right.
answers.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that. And not only that, once you get to know that one, this is one of the things we'll talk about in the test. Because right there, that's parentheses A. You look at parentheses B, it says 24 hours if there's any hospitalization or people you're losing an eye and things like that. You know, 8 and 24. When you guys get ready to take the test, and this is something that we've talked about, and I'd like to, you know, talk about for those of you who just joined us. You know, at least you'll know a little bit about the books. You don't need to know exactly everything on the book, but you know what the books are about. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your the plastic sheet there that they give you with a marker, and you're going to make a column with all the books, the OSHA, the Walkers, you know, the NRCA books, roofing, construction, estimating, the codes, all of that. Then before you start opening up any book, you press a button to start the time, and you start reading the whole test first. By reading the whole test first, what's going to happen? You're going to read question number 1. You're going to remember, oh, this question is from, let's say, for example, this particular question. This question is from OSHA. This is something about personal protective equipment. OSHA. Okay, OSHA. Question number 2 is from roofing, construction, estimating. You know, more or less where you think that the question comes from. And you're going to see questions like the one he just mentioned, that once you know it, okay, how long do I have to report a death to OSHA? 8 hours. And I'll answer that without even having to open up a book. And you'll be able to know at least out of the 85 questions, a good 8 to 10 questions that you don't even have to open up a book because you know them. And you will go through those. Another one that once we go over, you'll remember is positive drainage. When do I have positive drainage? 48 hours after a rain, you know, when in conditions conducive to drying. You know, after a rain, it rained. 48 hours went by, and I have no puddle in the roof. I might have a puddle 12 hours, 24 hours, maybe 30 hours, but after 48 hours, no puddles, I have positive drainage. I have a puddle, I have a problem in the roof, basically. That's what that is. So you remember, positive drainage, 48 hours. Death report, you know. So things like that, it'll help you. And you'll be
Those do
able
you
to-
explain on the cram? Those you explain on the cram as well? So when we do the cram over the weekend, you go over those things as well, or no?
Well, usually when we go to the, actually the cram, or, actually it's gonna be, the workshop. What I'm gonna try to do is give you guys a test, come up with, I'll send the test, so you guys, or I'll see it in the board. Well, actually, let's see, I don't even, things have changed. By the way, I gotta give you the latest news. Before we used to have a cram or a workshop every month. Due to the lack of people participating, the school changed it now every 2 months. So the first one is gonna be on February.
Every
We're not
other
gonna
month.
have- Yeah, we're not gonna have a one in January, February, April, so things like that. That's what's happening in this particular year. But what I'll do is I'll, get a test and we'll go over the question, and definitely, yeah, we'll see that. And, we'll look at the question, analyze it, see what book it comes from, things of that nature. That's the idea. That way we'll be able to say, okay, this question, why is it coming from here? Why is it coming from there? You'll see how the questions are. Roofing construction humanity gives you general questions. NRCAs are more technical. Code is gonna have the word that you wanna see in OSHA also, shall.
Shall.
Shall, it means mandate, means you have to know that whether you like it or not, you have to follow. This is what happens when there's something like that. Yeah, but we'll go through those. So we're gonna go like a table of contents. By the way, OSHA has a table of contents that helps and has an index. Typically, your OSHA books have an index that you also are helpful to get to the questions. So we're going to be looking at, and because so the books are different, I am not going to go by pages, but I am going to go by the sections, by the parts, subparts, and things like that. If you look at part 1903, which is inspections, citations, and proposed penalties, 1903.1, and this is, I've seen it come up in a test, but typically mostly is to know about a little bit about OSHA. This is what OSHA is about. Is the purpose and scope, and this is what they call also the general duty clause. What they call a general duty clause is this. Basically, another name for OSHA is the William Steiger Occupational Safety Act. Started being, it was, it came into effect at the end of 1970, December 1970, by the way. And then it says that requires, in part, that every employer, and you're going to see then, here you're not going to talk about the contractor, you're going to talk about the employer. Every employer covered under the act, number one, furnish to his employees employment and a place of employment which are free from recognized hazards that are causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm to the employees. That's number one. Number two, the act also requires that employers comply with occupational safety and health standards promulgated under the act. And number three, and that employees comply with standards, rules, regulations, and orders issued under the act, which are applicable to their own actions and conduct. That is called a general duty clause. That's what OSHA is about. Now, in here, take a look at what I have highlighted. And this, I have a lot of it highlighted for GC that has nothing to do with roofing. So we're going to be, not the entire book deals with this roofing. We're going to see only some of the subparts that deal with the roofing. Because, for example, excavations do not deal with roofing. You're not going to have an excavation question in your roofing test, things like that. But look at 1903.14. citations, notices of a minimum violation, policy regarding employee rescue activity, so on. But if you look at 1903.14 parentheses A, the last statement there, no citation may be issued under this section after the expiration of 6 months following the occurrence of any alleged violation. 6 months for citations. Then look at 1903.15, proposed penalties. 1903.15,
What number is that again?
1903.15, which talks about proposed penalties. I look at parentheses D as in David. Now, what do you have when parentheses 1, it shall not exceed how much? What is the number you guys have? 156, 259? In your books? Shall not be less than 11,162 and shall not exceed 156, 259. Is that what you have for a willful violation?
That's what I have on the new one, on the new one.
156, 259 or a different number?
I have 11,162, and it should not exceed 156, 259.
156, 259.
What
Okay,
page is that?
that is no page. Look at 1903.15.
See that?
Look at the sections in the OSHA book because actually each book is different.
Okay, I'm there.
But okay, 156, 259 typically is what that violation was as of January 14th, 2025. This is what you answered, 156, but it went up to 165 something. So this year, the maximum penalty instead of 156 is 165. 165,000 something. That's for this year in the real world. But for testing, 156 to 59. Okay, look at 1903.16, posting of citations, parentheses B, as in boy. 1903.16, parentheses B. Each citation or a copy thereof shall remain posted until the violation has been abated, or for 3 working days, whichever is later. (1903.17), employer and employee contests before the review commission. In other words, parentheses A talks about any employer to whom a citation of notice of a proposed penalty has been issued under the section, so on, so on. So look at the third line there. It says, such notice of intention to contest shall be postmarked within 15 working days of the receipt of the employers of the notice of the proposed penalty. 15 days, that's what they were looking for. 15 days. Then look at 1903.19, abatement verification, and then look at parentheses B, definitions, and B1, abatement, the definition of abatement. Action by an employer to comply with a cited standard regulation or to eliminate a recognized hazard identified by OSHA during inspection. That's what abatement is, the definition of abatement. That is 1903. Now we're going to go to 1904. 1904, look at subpart B, which is 1904.1. parentheses A, parentheses 1. Partial exemption for employers with 10 or fewer employees. If your company had 10 or fewer employees at all times during the last calendar year, you do not need to keep OSHA injury and illness records unless OSHA, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, inform you in writing that you must keep the records. So if we got 10 employees or less in the last year, you don't have to keep the records. Injury and illness records. This is 1904. Then we're going to go to 1904.7, general recording criteria. And when we get there, we're going to be looking at parenthesis B and then parenthesis 2. And you're going to see what you just saw it in 1904.39, you're going to see it here again. So it's repeated in both places. Look at B2, 1904.7. How do I record a work-related injury illness that results in an employee's death? You must record it on the OSHA 300 log, okay? You must also report any work-related fatality to OSHA within 8 hours as requested by 1904.39. See it there? So it's repeated what is in 1904.39. Then look at parenthesis 3, then parenthesis I, 1I, 3I. Do I count the day on which the injury occurred or the illness began? No. You begin counting days away on the day after the injury occurred or the illness began. Then look at parenthesis 5, still 1904.7. Talks about how do I record injury that involves medical treatment, so and so. Then look at medical treatment, the definition of medical treatment. The management and care of a patient to combat disease or disorder. And it gives you what includes and doesn't include. But what is it? Then we're going to go to 1904.30, multiple business establishments. 1904.30 says you must keep a separate OSHA 300 log for each establishment that is expected to be in operation for 1 year or longer. 1 year or longer. (1904.33) retention and updating records. Basic requirement, parenthesis A, you must save the OSHA 300 log, the privacy case list if one exists, the annual summary, the OSHA 301 incident report forms for 5 years following the end of the calendar year that the records cover. 5 years after the year that the records are from. And then you go to 1904.39. A, basic requirement. Within 8 hours after the death of any employee as a result of a work-related incident, you must report a fatality to the OSHA, Department of Labor. Parenthesis 2, within 24 hours after the inpatient hospitalization of one or more employees of an employee's amputation or loss of an eye as a result of a work-related 24 hours. 8 and 24 hours. 8 for death, 24 hours for hospitalization. Then on still 1904.39, and look at parenthesis B5, parenthesis B, parenthesis 5, on the B5. Do I have to report a work-related fatality or inpatient hospitalization caused by a heart attack? Yes. Then 1904.40, providing records to government representatives. When an authorized government representative asks for the records you keep under Part 1904, you must provide copies of the records within 4 business hours. And that is 1904 for you. Now, this goes to roofing. And we're gonna go to 1926, part 1926. 1926. Look at, would you be subpart C? Let me see one thing. I want to make sure that I don't leave that. Okay, no, actually 1926.16. 1926.16. Rules of construction. That is parentheses A. The prime contractor and any subcontractor may make their own arrangements, talks about all of that, but look at the last statement on that paragraph. In no case shall the prime contractor be relieved of overall responsibility for compliance with the requirements of this part for all work to be performed under the contract. So regardless of that, the prime contractors, as a roofer, you have some subcontractors, roofers, even though they should go, you are the ultimate responsible for all your subcontractors. They treat you as you are the employer of the subcontractor. That's what OSHA does about it. Then subpart C talks about 1926.21, safety training and education. Employee responsibility, parentheses B and parentheses 2. The employer shall instruct each employee in the recognition of avoidance of unsafe conditions and the regulations applicable to his work environment to control or eliminate any hazards or exposures to illness or injury. 1926.28, personal protective equipment. The employer is responsible for requiring the wearing of appropriate personal protective equipment in all operations where there is an exposure to hazardous conditions, where this part indicates the need for using such equipment to reduce the hazards to the employees. Then you go to 1926.32, which is definitions, and look at parentheses F, competent person. Means one who's capable of identifying existing and predictable hazards in the surroundings or working conditions, which are unsanitary, hazardous, or dangerous to employees, and who has the authorization to take prompt corrective measures to eliminate them. Then let me see what else I have. So part D, 1926.50. And there, look at parenthesis D, medical services and first aid, parenthesis D, and then parenthesis 2. The contents of the first aid kit shall be placed waterproof container with individual sealed packages for each type of item and shall be checked by the employer before being sent out on a job and at least weekly on each job. So the employer has to check the first aid kit weekly. Then 1926-51, sanitation. A2. Portable containers used to dispense drinking water should be capable of being tightly closed and equipped with a tap. Water shall not be dipped from containers. Parenthesis C1, toilets And there, I think that one is more for GCs than it is for roofing. But I have it marked here and I didn't have it checked there. I have like a check off for one and the other. Toilets shall be provided according to the table. You see a table there, how many toilets per employee. Nineteen 26.52 occupational noise exposure. And look at permissible noise exposure, table D2, that just highlight the table. Airborne contaminants, none of that, none of that, none of that is that. This is nothing to do with roofing. Okay, now we're gonna go, let me see one thing, I wanna make sure that I don't leave anything out. This is lead. No. PL, no. 1926.100, which is subpart E. Look at parenthesis A. And this is where, when you have to wear a hard hat. Employees working in
I'm
areas.
sorry, you said 1926
.100.
for 100.
1926.100. This is part E, talks about personal protective equipment. And here, the 100 talks about when do you have to wear a hard hat. Says employees working in areas where there's a possible danger of head injury from impact or from falling or flying objects or from electrical shock or burns shall be protected by protective helmets. That's what OSHA says about when to wear a hard hat. Then we're gonna look at 1926.104. And there's usually a lot of the questions that come over here. 104B. Lifelines shall be secured above the point of operation to an anchorage, a structural member capable of supporting a minimum dead weight of 5,400 pounds. That is B. Now, D as in David. Safety belt lanyard shall be a minimum of 1/2 inch nylon or equivalent, maximum length to provide a fall no greater than 6 feet. The rope shall have a nominal breaking strength of 5,000 pounds. F. All safety belt and lanyard hardware, except rivets, shall be capable of withstanding a tensile loading of 4,000 pounds without cracking, breaking, or taking a permanent deformation. Then safety nets, which is 1926.105A. Safety nets shall be provided when workplaces are more than 25 feet above the ground or water surface, or other surfaces where they use a ladder, so it's gonna be, it's impractical. (1926.105) parenthesis D as in David. The mesh size of nets shall not exceed 6 inches by 6 inches. All your nets shall meet accepted performance standards of 17,500 foot-pounds minimum impact resistance. Then edge ropes shall provide a minimum breaking strength of 5,000 pounds. Then you have subpart F, which deals with fire protection. And fire protection, 1926.150, parentheses A, parentheses 1. The employer shall be responsible for the development of a fire protection program to be followed through all phases of the construction demolition work. And he shall provide the firefighting equipment specified as a part. So who provides it? The employer. Then this is for GC, what do you see? Okay. Take a look now on 1926.150 parentheses C, parentheses 1, and then parentheses double I. 1 55-gallon open drum of water with 2 fire pails may be substituted for a fire extinguisher having a 2A rating. And then there's a big table there for the different types of fire extinguishers, what type of fires they could be used for. I highlight the table because it's been different test questions about that. Okay, this combustible material, flammable liquids. I'm looking at making sure that because a lot of this stuff is for GC, not for roofing. Okay, this is personal protective equipment.
What section are you in again?
Huh?
What section?
No, what we saw just was personal protective equipment, this subpart. Now we're gonna go to subpart M,
Yeah.
which is 1926.500. Fall protection. Actually, I'm sorry, I knew it was something. Subpart L, that's what I was looking for. 450, 1926.450. That's scaffolds. 1926.450 parentheses B talks about definitions. Usually on each one of the chapters that you see, you're going to see definitions at the beginning of each one of the subparts. So this is 450 parentheses B, and look at crawling board or chicken ladder, the definition of a chicken ladder. Means a supported scaffold consisting of a plank with cleat space and secured to provide footing for use on sloped surfaces such as roofs. And these are the different, different test questions that have come up in different tests. Guardrail system. Vertical barrier consisting of, but not limited to, top rails, mid rails, and posts erected to prevent employees from falling off a scaffold platform or walkway to lower levels. Horse scaffold. Supported scaffold consisting of a platform supported by construction horses, also horses. Then horse scaffolds constructed of metal are sometimes known as trestle scaffolds. Ladder jack scaffold. Supported scaffold consisting of a platform resting on brackets attached to ladders. Okay, now, yeah, 1926.451. 451, general requirements. Parenthesis A, parenthesis 1. Except that provided in the other paragraphs, this section, each scaffold and scaffold component shall be capable of supporting without failure its own weight and at least 4 times the maximum intended load applied or transmitted to it. Look at parenthesis 5 on that section. The stall load of any scaffold hoist shall not exceed 3 times the rated load. For scaffold unit employee. Okay, this is, again, I'm looking for stuff for roofing. Air towers, nothing to do with roofing. Okay, look at now the same 1926.451 parenthesis G. Fall protection. And it says each employee on a scaffold more than 10 feet above a lower level shall be protected from falling by the lower to a lower level. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now look at G parenthesis G parenthesis 4 and then double I. Talks about guardrail systems, parenthesis 4. And there, the top edge height of top rails or equivalent member on supported scaffolds manufactured or placed in service after 2000 have been sold between 38 and 45 inches above the platform surface. Okay, parenthesis 4, Roman numeral 7, VII. Each top rail of equivalent member of a guardrail system shall be capable of withstanding without failure the force applied any downward or horizontal direction at any point along the edge of at least 100 pounds. Then for guardrail system installed on single point adjustable suspension scaffold and 2 points adjustable suspension scaffold and 200 pounds for guardrail system installed on the other scaffolds.
Which subpart was that again?
That was on 1926 450 G, still on parenthesis G. Then we go to parenthesis 4, and under parenthesis 4 we go to Roman numeral 7.
Thank you.
Which is VII. And you talk about the any point 100 pounds for guardrail system installed on single point adjustable suspension scaffold or 2 point suspension scaffold, and 200 pounds for the other or any other type. That's on G. Now we're going to look at parenthesis H, falling object protection. And in falling object protection, H2 double I, or Roman numeral 2. A tow board shall be erected along the edge of platforms more than 10 feet above lower levels for a distance sufficient to protect employees below.
And this is 1926.451.
451, we're still on 451. Then we're going to go to parenthesis H. 451 is big. Falling objects, talks about falling object protection. And then in there, H2 double I.
Yeah.
Then still on parenthesis H, parenthesis H4, parenthesis 4. Where used, tow boards shall be then 1 and 2. capable of withstanding without failure a force of at least 50 pounds applied to any downward direction, so and so, 50 pounds. And then, parenthesis 2, or double I, at least 3.5 inches high from the top edge toe board to the level of working surface. Then we're gonna go now to 1926.452, and in 452, look at parenthesis F, horse scaffolds. F1. Scaffold shall not be constructed or arranged more than 2 tiers of 10 feet in height, whichever is less. Then parenthesis N, as in no, N1 talks about step, platform, and trestle ladder scaffold. Scaffold platform shall not be placed any higher than the second highest rung or step on the ladder supporting the scaffold. Area lift, nothing on area lift. Again, I'm looking for no, that's what I have for roofing so far. I don't think I left anything out there. Now let me look at the next. The next subpart is subpart M, which is the main cause of injuries and death in the industry, in the construction. Fall protection. And in fall protection, 1926.500, fall protection. And there, we're going to look at definitions, which is parenthesis B, and look at guardrail systems. A barrier erected to prevent employees from falling to lower levels. Low slope roof. Roof having a slope less than or equal to 4 in 12. Then you have steep roof. Roof having a slope graded, pardon?
What section are you in?
Okay, I am in 1926.500, and then I'm going to parenthesis B, which is definitions. And then I'm gonna look at guardrail systems, low slope roof, and steep roof. Those are the three I have highlighted for roofing. Then 1926.501 talks about duty to have fall protection. Then look at, in 501, look at parenthesis B, parenthesis 1. Unprotected sides and edges. Each employee in a walking, working surface, horizontal, vertical surface, with an unprotected side or edge which is 6 feet or more above the lower level, shall be protected from falling by the use of guardrail systems, safety net systems, or personal fall arrest systems. One of those. 2, parenthesis 2, I. Each employee who is constructing a leading edge 6 feet or more above lower level shall be protected from falling by guardrail systems and personal fall arrest systems again. So if you look at it, everything talks about 6 feet. Now, look at 1926.501 and look at B10, parenthesis 10. Talks about roofing. Roofing work on low slope roofs, except as otherwise provided in paragraph B of this section, each employee engaged in roofing activities on low slope roofs with unprotected sides and edges 6 feet or more above load shall be protected from falling by guardrail systems, safety net system, personal fall resistance, a combination, so on and so on. Keep on reading on that paragraph and look at the last statement. Or on roofs 50 feet or less in width, the use of safety monitoring system alone is permitted. So if a roof is 50 feet or less in width, one big flat roof, talk about. Now look at 13, parenthesis 13, residential construction, you're gonna see the same thing. In residential construction, each employee engaged in residential construction activity 6 feet or more above lower levels should be protected by guardrail systems to develop a personal fall residence. Unless another provision of this section provides for an alternate fall protection measure. Then 1926-502 fall protection systems criteria and practices. Talks about guardrail system, parenthesis B. And parenthesis B, look at B1. Talks about guardrail systems and their use shall comply with the following provisions. The top edge height of top rails or equivalent guardrail system members shall be 42 inches minus plus or minus 3 inches above the working level. Then parenthesis 3. Guardrail system shall be capable of withstanding without failure a force of at least 200 pounds within 2 inches of the top edge in any outward or downward direction at any point along the top edge. Parenthesis C, safety net systems. C1, safety nets shall be installed as close as practicable under the working surface on which employees are working, but in no case more than 30 feet below such level. More than 30 feet below such level. And then you're gonna see on parenthesis 2, safety net shall extend outward from the outermost projection of the work surface as follows. And you have a table that shows you up to 5 feet, more than between 5 and 10 feet, more than 10 feet, what is the projection of the safety net? That little table highlighted because there's been questions coming out of that. Then we're gonna go to D. Yeah, parenthesis D as in David, D12, parenthesis D, parenthesis 12. Self-retracting, talks about lifelines. Self-retracting lifelines and lanyards, which automatically limit free fall distance of to 2 feet or less, shall be capable of sustaining a minimum tensile load of 3,000 pounds applied to the device with a lifeline or lanyard in the fully extended position. That is 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21. Same thing on parenthesis D, parenthesis 21. Personal fall arrest systems shall be inspected prior to each use for wear, damage, and other deterioration, and defective components shall be removed from service. Now we're going to go to parenthesis F, warning line systems. And then parenthesis F, we're gonna be looking at parenthesis 2. Warning lines shall consist of ropes, wires, and chains, and supporting stanchions erected as follows. And then look at parenthesis III, or Roman numeral 3, if they want to call it that way. After being erected with a rope, wire, or chain attached, stanchion shall be capable of resisting without tipping over a force of at least 16 pounds applied horizontally against the stanchion 30 inches above the working surface. G, controlled access zones. G, look at 1I. When control lines are used, they shall be erected not less than 6 feet, no more than 25 feet from the unprotected leading edge, except when erecting precast concrete members. Then we're gonna go to parenthesis J, parenthesis J. J3, protection from falling objects. Toe boards shall be a minimum of 3.5 inches in vertical height from their top edge to the level of the working surface. Then parenthesis J, parenthesis 7. During the performance of roofing work or roof materials and equipment shall not be stored within 6 feet of a roof edge unless guardrails are erected at the edge. And then something that is, like it says, no, look at Appendix A on 1926, and on the subpart M, Appendix A, which talks about non-mandatory guidelines. And this is the appendix, and this talks about the same thing about the, what we saw about the roofing, 50 feet roof. It says to assist employers complying with the requirements of 1926 501B10, allows the use of safety monitoring system alone as a means of providing fall protection during the performance of roofing operations on low sloped roofs, 50 feet or less in width. And you know what a safety monitoring system is, right? Somebody there in the roof, just watching the roofers work, and then just, hey, you're falling. Basically, that's a safety monitoring system. Watching the guys work, making sure they don't get close to the edge. Then we have no OSHA for marine, and roofing for marine operations, excavations, or nothing like that. So we're gonna go now to subpart X. Subpart X talks about stairways and ladders. Subpart X. That'll be 1926.1050, but we're gonna start with 1051. 1926.1050 starts subpart X. But we're gonna do 1051. General requirements. Parenthesis A. Well, actually, that's not for roofing. Look at 1052 is stairways, and stairways are also usually not in roofing. So we're gonna go to 1053. 1053 is usually ladders. What usually comes out the most. 1926.1053 talks about ladders. And 1053A1. Ladders shall be capable of supporting the following loads without failure. Then 1I. Each self-supporting ladder, or a self-supporting portable ladder. Support, at least 4 times the minimum intended load, except that each extra heavy-duty Type 1A metal plastic ladder shall sustain at least 3.3 times the maximum intended load. So typically, your Home Depot ladders are, the regular ladders. It's at 200, they're rated for 250 pounds. They're made to withstand 1,000 pounds. Look at parenthesis 3, parenthesis I. Rungs, cleats, and steps of portable ladders, except of, including, shall be spaced not less than 10 inches apart, no more than 14 inches apart. That's measured between center lines of the rungs, cleats, and steps. Then parenthesis 4, parenthesis double I. The minimum clear distance between side rails for all portable ladders shall be 11.5 inches. 11.5 inches. Then we're gonna go all the way up to parenthesis 18. Well, actually, that's fixed ladders. That's not for roofing. Not for roofing. Not for roofing. Vertical bars. Okay. Okay. Parenthesis 24. The side rails of through or side step fixed ladders shall extend 42 inches. Those are, yeah, that's fixed ladders again. So it's not gonna be then 1926.1053 parenthesis B. Talk about portable ladders. When portable ladders are used, look at B1. When portable ladders are used for access to an upper landing surface, the ladder side rails shall extend at least 3 feet above the upper landing surface to which the ladder is used to gain access. Then B1.5, parenthesis 5, then parenthesis I. Non-self-supporting ladder should be used at an angle such that the horizontal distance from the top support to the foot of the ladder is approximately 1/4 of the working length of the ladder. Then double I. Wood job made ladders with splice side rails shall be used at an angle such that the horizontal distance is 1/8 the working length of the ladder. Fixed ladders, that's the parenthesis, the triple I. Fixed ladders shall be used at a pitch no greater than 90 degrees from horizontal as measured from the backside of the ladder. We finish OSHA. Again, OSHA has an index that does help you find whatever the question comes from, and it's it's a helpful index. We've already gone through walkers and we've gone through OSHA, and we are kind of early to finish this up. Any questions? Any comments so far?
What books are we gonna be working on Thursday?
On Thursday, we're gonna go over to SMACNA. We're gonna start with SMACNA, the sheet metal book.
So I have my exam on Wednesday of the following week. I'm scheduled to take my exam. Is there any way the following Tuesday when we meet, we can work on NRCA books just to kind of get me refreshed before my exam?
You want to get to the NRCA's? Right now it could be anything really in Thursday, because that'll be the first Thursday. So we can go through the NRCA books. If
On
we go through
Thursday
the
and
NRCA
possibly
book,
Tuesday?
which one you want to go, green or the blue? Those are the heaviest ones, or the two in questions.
Well, we're gonna meet Tuesday as well, right?
We're gonna meet next Tuesday, but
Okay,
again, next Tuesday will be, unless we go through the NRCA's, if everybody's okay.
Yeah, to help him out, why don't
Yeah.
you, if possible, do the important ones starting tomorrow then, and then
Well,
his
tomorrow
test
is
is
Frankie. Thursday, yeah, I'll do Thursday.
yeah, Thursday.
I'll do Thursday. We can do the green book if you want, which is a steep slope,
Perfect.
and then we could do the blue book on Tuesday.
That'd be great. That'll get me in a good,
Yeah.
good flow here.
Okay.
tomorrow. Do
Uh,
you know which book is gonna be with Frankie?
Actually, I haven't spoken to Frank, so I don't know. The school started doing all kinds of modules, which, I haven't gone through them. In other words, let's say that we're going to be talking about low slope roofs or maybe what do you call single ply roofs, and then we're going to go through all the books of single plies and things like that. I don't know exactly how the modules are working, but maybe Frank will start that with the modules.
Is that the modules? Is that a new thing for the roofing program?
Yeah, I mean, it's new modules on the roofing program that they started, which I personally haven't seen, haven't gone through them yet.
Mhm.
Again, there's a new stuff coming in, the schools have started.
Is
I
it-
still go
is
through
this-
book by book. That way we get to know the books a little bit better. And then we go through the tests to try to find the questions. Yeah.
Other modules similar to the GC books, GC
I
trainings that was
might
available a few
be.
years back?
I haven't seen them. I really haven't gone into them. I know that I think that they were talking about like steep slope roofs, or maybe, or I don't know if we just have a special type of steep slope roof or underlayments, and they talk about everything that is on the book on underlayments. I have to go through them to really know about them. I just skimmed through them. I just looked at them, and I really didn't get into the modules. I'll get into the modules. I think that the way they go book by book helps out because at least we get to know the books a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But anyway, I'll talk to Frank during the day. But anyway, we'll know tomorrow. But let's do one thing. Let's do the NRCA green on Thursday. That's 5 different types of steep slope roofs. And again, typically in the test, most of the questions are gonna come, not most, but I mean altogether, NRCA is gonna be half the test or 40-some% of the test, the NRCA set of books. And out of those books, the green and the blue are usually the one with the most.
Okay,
In
Then the
RCA,
red,
it's 3 books, right? Total 3
5,
books, correct?
five books. You have the steep slope, which is green. Then you have the membranes, which is a blue book. Then you have a red book that have steel roofs and SPF. Then
Orange,
you have your little booklet that has
waterproofing.
waterproofing. And then you have the orange book
Yeah,
that
that's
talks
correct.
about condensation, air leakage, and flashing, which has like together with that's what they are. They're
But-
set of 5.
when,
Yeah.
when it comes to flashing questions, wouldn't that be more Smagna than the orange RNSCA?
I would go to SMAGNA unless they specifically tell me to go to an RCA if it's anything with flashing.
And if
Because
so, the
SMAGNA
question
is,
says, based on NRCA flashing, I would go
Then you
straight with
go-
the orange book.
then you go to the orange book. If it tells, talks about, according to NRCA and talks about flashing, then yes. I'm going to give an example. One of the things that is good, like for example, on the orange book, you're going to see a lot the same. There's a lot of information on flashing is throughout the other books. But for example, I'm going to give an example on the steep slope. If you want to know valley flashing on steep slope, you're going to have it on the orange book for asphalt, for tile, for slate, for each one, for metal, for wood, shingles and shakes. So what happens all together? You're gonna see valley flashing, and they're gonna have them all together. The chimney flashing is gonna be all together, so it's easier. So it's the same information you have on the other books, but it's like put together in the orange book.
Okay,
So, but that's what we'll do. Actually, I'm gonna make sure that I change it over here so I get to know exactly what I'm doing, and we're gonna start with a green book on NRCA.
perfect. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay,
Have a good night.
you too. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions, guys?
Thank you
Come.
very much for tonight's class. I appreciate it.
All right. So you guys, I'll see you Thursday. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Are we gonna do this class again? I mean, this exact class again with these two books that we did tonight?
Uh-huh.
I'm new here, first time
Uh-huh.
here. I kind of fall behind.
Come back. Give the question again. I wasn't listening. I had my dog
Yeah,
barking.
if we're gonna do these two books again, just like this
Oh
class.
yeah, no.
Okay.
The way that we go about this, Dorian, is basically we start with one book, we go through all the books. It's like a cycle, and then
Okay.
we come back to these books again.
All right, because my
Oh yeah,
friend
yeah.
this
So what we're gonna do is now divide it, and like I said, we're gonna start the NRCA's and go through the NRCA's. We'll get to the NRCA's on Tuesdays once we go through the other books. It'll be like, so it's gonna be a cycle. So you get to that.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So God willing, I shall see you Thursday.
All right.
All right,
Thank
guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.